With us is Immigration Minister Jason Kenney, who over the years has been one of the strongest and, even his critics would say, the most principled critics of Chinese human rights policy. Well, Mr. Kenney, have you changed your views?
No, Craig. I think I've always believed that Canada can pursue a policy of principled engagement, and I think that's just what Prime Minister Harper has done. Over our time in office, he has supported honorary Canadian citizenship for the Dalai Lama, met with the Dalai Lama in his office, giving him proper respect, has stood up for dissidents like Liu Decheng and Canadians imprisoned in China like Hussein Jalil, and obviously raised these matters in his private meetings in Beijing as well as publicly during his speech in Shanghai. All the while, we've been able to see 12% annual increases in Canadian exports to China during our time in office, and his trip has been successful as well from a commercial point of view, opening up preferred destination status for Chinese tourism to Canada, beef and pork exports to China. So I think on the whole, we've been able to demonstrate that you don't have to kowtow in order to get results. You can have a principled approach to engagement. Unfortunately, it seems that our Liberal opponents don't agree.
Yeah, but are we, as Canada, are you abandoning the democracy movement in China, the fight for better human rights in China? Because, you know, this could, obviously, you don't believe this could damage Canada-Chinese relations if you press ahead hard with this.
I think, as Prime Minister Harper said this week in Shanghai, true friends can have an honest dialogue, and we can continue to advance Canada's commercial interests while articulating our belief in fundamental democratic values such as human rights and the rule of law. We have done that. We will continue to do that, and that's really the policy that Prime Minister Harper articulated, I think, in a very balanced way during his visit.
So, but you're not going to be no more language from you about the butchers of Beijing. That was one of your famous lines, and of course you infuriated the government of the day when you went to see a prominent dissident. The Chinese government was mad at you. I mean, you yourself are certainly not going to be a pal of the Chinese leadership.
Well, Craig, I think most Canadians believe that our country should be a voice for universal values of human dignity and democracy on the world stage. And I don't think Canadians are apologetic about that. I think they're proud to see a Prime Minister who has stood up consistently for those values and at the same time has been able to advance Canada's own commercial interests. And that's, I think, the approach that I've always supported. I think the vast majority of Canadians do. Not the Liberal Party, though. They take this supine approach where they seem to think we should only do and say what some foreign governments approve of. But they didn't get the job done. The Prime Minister is coming back with approved destination status, increased access to Chinese markets for agricultural exports, a number of accords. They didn't get that done, notwithstanding 12 or 13 years of policy that was calibrated to the pecuniary interests of some of their powerful friends.
Let's take a look at what Liberal leader Michael Ignatieff says about the diplomatic snub, as it's being called.
This is amateur hour on the world stage, and Canadian jobs are at stake. We're not going to get out of this recession with the American consumer. This recession is we're going to have to get market share in China, and the Chinese authorities have made their displeasure very clear. And so this rebuke, I think, is going to cost Canadian jobs.
What do you think of that?
I think it's really unfortunate for a leader who spent most of his life outside of Canada to come back here and then attack the Prime Minister of Canada, quote, approving of the words of a member of the Chinese Politburo like Mr. Ignatieff has done. I think he should stand up for Canada and a balanced approach that can advance both our values and interests rather than parroting the words of a member of the Politburo as he's just done. I think it demonstrates that Mr. Ignatieff doesn't understand that his first job as an aspiring Prime Minister is to stand up for Canada's interests. He should be supporting Canada's Prime Minister abroad when he's asserting Canada's values and interests. And by the way, on the commercial front, he's absolutely wrong. Under the Liberals for 13 years, we saw a decline in our share of the Chinese import market. We've turned the quarter on that. We've seen over 40% increase in exports from Canada to China since our government took office. We now have approved destination status. So the Ignatieff Liberal approach didn't work for 13 years. We're finally getting some results for Canada's commercial interests without sacrificing our belief in Canadian values.
So finally then, you're saying you don't believe there were any implications to that remark by the Chinese. They weren't putting on us on notice that they want better behavior in terms of what we say about them, and you think we're now steady? We don't need any rebuilding of the relationship with the Chinese.
Well, any relationship requires, obviously, Craig, ongoing care and attention, and the Prime Minister has clearly demonstrated that through his 4-day successful visit to China. But what we watch is deeds and not words, and the deeds are very significant. For over a decade, the #1 Canadian ask in the bilateral relationship was approved destination status. The Liberals didn't get it done, notwithstanding their supine approach. But we did, and Prime Minister Harper is coming back with a substantial increase in Chinese tourism to Canada, even though it's been going up under our government, and increased access to the marketplace. And I think it's a very positive result for Canada, all the while, as he said yesterday in Shanghai, being able to maintain Canada's belief in human rights and democratic values.
Jason Kenney, thanks for doing this for us this Sunday. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Craig.